Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I'm so happy you're here. If you are catching me live, I'd love it if you drop a comment so I could say hi and know who's watching. If you are watching the replay, I am so glad you decided to tune in. I won't waste too much of your time up front. We'll get right to stamping pretty quickly. So tonight, I have for you this Christmas card that I made. Let's see, let's get it a little more in the light so you can see the panels there. So I kind of made it like a front door. You'll see it a little better when we point the camera down. And I've been wanting to do one of these actually for a little while and kind of couldn't quite wrap my head around it. It's just pretty simple, but I will also show you how I figured out the dimensions for those little panels for the front door look. So I am live pretty much every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time here on my YouTube channel, so I hope you will subscribe and click the notifications bell so you don't ever miss me. So with that, let's go ahead and flip the camera down. There we go. Oh, how did that get there? Yes, if you follow me on social media at all, you know that over this past weekend, I went to our what's called On Stage, which is Stampin' Up's convention. This is the first time we've been in person in 3 years because of the COVID restrictions over the past 3 years. So I was so excited to actually see my friends, get some hugs, do some stamping with 900 of my friends. It was pretty awesome, pretty excited, pretty happy that everything's coming back. So, and I also wanted to just thank my family, my followers, my team members, my customers, because of all of you. I was able to earn some recognition. So my level with Stampin' Up! Is silver, and then I earned a couple of team building and leadership awards as well. So thank you for all of that. I couldn't do what I do without all of you. So, all right, so here is our card that we're making tonight, and this was my winning entry into our Friday night stamping competition. That's 2 in a row for those of you keeping score. I think I just threw down a gauntlet there, Stamper Man. So I'm going to show you, it's so super easy to do this. And I'm also going to show you 2 alternatives for different seasons. So it doesn't just have to be a Christmas card. I'm using the same stamp set, just switching up colors and things, and I'll show you those at the end, so stick around. Okay, so as always, I have linked the full supply list with cardstock measurements in the video description, so you can click that link at any time. You don't have to worry about taking copious notes while we're going here or stopping the video or anything. Just watch, kick back with your drink of choice, and you can visit that link later for all of those, for all that information. But I will show you what we are using tonight, even though. So we are starting off with the Cottage Wreaths bundle. This is really very quickly became one of my favorite bundles. I know I say that about a lot of things, but I guess that's why I'm a demonstrator, because I kind of love all of it. So, but as you can see, they've built in, like, you know, fall and Halloween and Christmas into this stamp set. They've also got, you know, your generic hello, you've got your some people just make life better. So you can make just general cards that don't have to be holiday related as well. All with just this stamp set. You've got a couple of different wreaths and all these embellishments. And then you've got all these dies that will cut out both the wreaths and many of the embellishments. And then you've got extra little dies to add little doodads of your choice. So, challenge accepted. Good. I love it. This past week's vote was very close. I think only 1 vote separated us. So I won that one by the skin of my teeth. All right, for inks tonight, we only have 2 inks we're using, and that is Cherry Cobbler and Garden Green, which is a very traditional kind of Victorian Christmas colors, really pretty. So I went very traditional to this week. And with those, I added some of the same cardstock, because that's what I love about Stampin' Up! There, it takes all the guesswork out of color coordination. You know, you're using a Cherry Cobbler stamp pad, grab your Cherry Cobbler cardstock, and you know it's going to match. So we are starting out with a Garden Green base. So this is 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. Just going to take my bone folder, give that a good crease so it lays nice and flat. I did forget, I'll do that in a minute. I forgot to add an extra piece of basic white for the inside. So we have one piece of basic white here that is 5 1/4 by 4. We will have 2 of those basically because one of them needs to go inside. I've got an extra little piece of basic white that is 2 inches by 1/2 inch for my greeting. And in the description, in the supply link, I actually told you you need a basic white piece that's like 3-inch square. I realized last night that I don't need that, and I will show you how to conserve some cardstock and make it, make your money go farther, right? So then we are using cherry cobbler, and we're going to start with this piece that is 5 inches by 3 3/4. And then I've got another piece that is 4 1/4 by 3 inches. And I will show you what to do with that to make your door panels. Okay, so that's all of our cardstock. We will also be using the Real Red Garden Green Ribbon Combo Pack, which I bought specifically to make Christmas cards with. And I'm so glad I did because it's awesome. I'm also using our Simply Elegant trim, and as I noted on Friday night, we're running out of gold, so I guess I better start making some more silver things. And I will, with that, be showing you again the fork bow technique, so those of you that haven't seen it or need a refresher or need to watch it for the 1,000th time before they give it a go, what are you waiting for? Okay, I think you all know who I'm looking at you. If you haven't tried the fork bow yet, seriously, just give it a try and just keep rewinding this part of the video over and over till you got it, because once you've got it once or twice, you'll just be whipping them out in no time. It's awesome. All right, and for our adhesives, we've got a couple of extras. We've got our dimensionals, of course, and we've got our mini glue dots. And that's how I'm going to be attaching my bow. So there's a couple of different ways you can attach bows, and I will tell you when I get to that point, but that's what I'll be using tonight. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to run over to my island and get that other piece of basic white. Thank goodness we always have a stack of these pre-cut for the insides of our cards because we go through them a lot, as you can imagine. So I'm actually going to use both of my colors. We're going to do that inside of the card right away because y'all know I like to do that. Get that piece out of my way so I'm not confused on what I'm doing. So another thing I love that Stampin' Up! Does is when there's a stamp set like this where you're going to need to line things up and stuff, they make it photopolymer so it's see-through. So it's very easy to line things up. We're going to do some little holly berries on the inside of the card. So I will start with those holly leaves and our garden green ink pad. Just a little sprig in the corner there. So I do have a couple of things to show you from the weekend and some things to talk about. The main thing is that tomorrow, I'll show you this in a minute, we have a big seasonal sale that's starting. So tomorrow is Tuesday, November 15th, for those of you that may be watching the replay. It goes from the 15th to Friday the 18th, which happens to be my birthday. So that's a nice little happy birthday to me. So yes, you definitely want to hop on. I will show you all the details in a minute, but that starts tomorrow. Definitely hop on and get your stuff while you can. So all the products that I'm showing you tonight can be ordered on my website. The link is also in the description, so you can get to that very easily with a simple click. And that is where all the details of the sale will be as well, starting tomorrow. So if you forget, you don't want to watch the video again, whatever it is, you can just hop on my website and see exactly what's for sale and how much the discounts are. So we're all good there. So as always, I always tell you that you can order products from me, but I do want to assure you that even if you never buy a thing from me, my main goal is to increase your creative confidence, because everybody is creative, even if you don't think you are. And creativity is kind of like when you go to the gym to maybe tone up your muscles. The more you work them, the better they get. So the more creativity you try, the better it gets, the easier it gets, the more easily it comes, and the bigger your creative muscle, right? So maybe you don't want big muscles in real life, but creative muscles are good to have big ones. All right, so we've got our inside done and attached. Let's go ahead and I will show you. You're going to take that main piece of basic white for the front of the card. And if you notice, we're only looking at a border of that when we see the finished card. So I'm going to use this middle part to stamp my wreath. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out that I have pointed out in the past when I've used this set, when you get it and you kind of figure out, how it goes on that label, you'll see a caret or a little V, a little arrow, whatever you want to call it, right there. You'll notice I put a dot on my stamp with a Sharpie. It won't affect the use of the stamp at all because I didn't put it on the image, I put it on the edge. But I just marked both of these wreaths where those little arrows were, because that helps me line up the dies to cut them out. So I tend to always make sure I put that dot at the top of my paper and the top of my block, the top of everything, so I know where it is. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up in our garden green. And this is one of our distinctive stamps, which means that it has kind of varying depths of etching, basically, so that you get this multi-toned shading just from inking one ink pad and stamping it. So I absolutely love these distinctive stamps. And they are a trademark with Stampin' Up! So you're not really going to see them elsewhere. Okay. So once again, when I put this back, it makes it easier to line all that up because I know where that dot goes. Okay. While I am here, I'm also going to get my little block out, some of my holly berries. And we're also going to go ahead and do that right on the middle. Just give myself a little bit of space so I can line everything up. Now, on our supply list, I put that we were going to be using the mini machine tonight, but I'm realizing that if you're doing it out of this full sheet, quarter sheet of cardstock, you're going to need the bigger machine. So we will use the bigger one to die cut our stuff. While we're stamping, let's go ahead and do our greeting. So this is a Merry Christmas. Let me get there it is. As always, I'm just like, where's my stuff? So even though I have a smaller block out, but I thought, I'll just use this one. So whenever I use a big block for a little stamp, I kind of mount it in the corner, and then it's easier to control, and you just want to make sure you're not rocking it and letting that that edge drop. So you want to keep your stamp level is all. So I'm only pressing down in that corner. Perfect. I'm not going to tempt fate again, though. I'm going to get my smaller block out for my little holly leaves. Just a couple of little holly leaves right here next to my greeting. Okay, that is all of our stamping done. So let's put our ink pads away so we don't make a mess. Because you know my hand is going right into one of these. All right. So let's get that put away. Get my top sheet. So your photopolymer stamps come on a sheet of acetate and then with this cover sheet as well. And I like to keep the cover sheet on even after I transfer the stamps to the stamp case because it just keeps dust, and we have 2 dogs, so it keeps dog hair off and it keeps all that kind of stuff. I just feel like it keeps them a little cleaner, and it probably helps the stickiness and everything a little bit more. So my tip to you. All right, let's get our big boss out and do some die cutting. Put that aside for a moment. I'm just going to grab this guy. Get our big boss. You know what? I think I'm going to crank you guys up just a little bit. You didn't even know I could do that, did you? All right, so we have, with the dies, they have gotten smart, and they've given me 2 dies that'll cut out the berries. So I can do both of those. I can do 2 at once, along with my wreath, and then I only have to make 1 other pass to do the other 2 berries. So not bad. So now here on these dies, my feed keeps freezing, it looks like. You will notice that there is a little V or a caret or an arrow, whatever you want to call it. It basically coincides to that same point up here. And I think this was my top. We'll see. Yep. So that makes it much easier to line up your dies with your image when you know the same point. Okay, we'll do that. We'll grab the berries. There's a couple of larger ones. Those might be too close, and that's okay. This is a little more fiddly trying to do it on camera because I have things in my way. So it goes a little smoother when I'm just stamping on my own. And I also, because when we cut the inside pieces, you know, for our basic white, we've got like these 1/2-inch strips left from the paper. And that's why I always have those little, like these little tags for my greetings, right? I have just a little tray of 1/2-inch strips of white. So I often do like these little berries and things on those as well. So it's nice to have just kind of a little bin or a bowl, whatever you want on your stamp table, and just keep those little scraps, especially of like your white cardstock, because that's just your neutral, or your vanilla. Those are really nice to just keep for greetings and little doodads and things like that you're stamping like this. Okay, let's peel that wreath off. Okay, put this away. We've got our wreath. Perfect. Boy, that really turned out perfect. Loving that. And we've got a couple of berries. And now we will run that back through to cut out those other 2 berries. Because now my wreath die is not in the way. That's the one thing, if you're stamping before you're die cutting, you have to kind of give yourself some extra room for the lips of the dies, right? So I couldn't put that berry one right next to the wreath die, but I can cut it out easily now. There was plenty of room. Okay. This guy out of my way. Okay, and there's our other 2 berries. So all of our die cutting is done. I've resorted to putting stuff on the floor now. It's getting a little crowdy over here, guys. Okay, so I could go ahead and mount this to my white. And then I can mount that to my card front. And you'll see, even though all that stuff's die cut out of there, nobody will be the wiser unless y'all tell them. Don't tell them. So you can't even tell that that was all cut out of there. So no problem there. Okay, let me let you in on how I figured out how to cut that, the front door panels, basically. So what I did was after I decided I wanted a card base and then a layer and then another layer. So I knew that that top layer was going to be 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So it's really good to have our grid paper, or any grid paper really. Ours is 1/4 inch grid. So there's just 4 to each inch, right? Really nice. So all I did was I marked off that card front. So that would be the cherry cobbler layer. And then I thought, well, I'll just come in 1/4 inch from the top and each side. And then there'd be 1/4 inch between them so that there's just 1/4 inch all around everything. And so if I just drew those out, then I could measure, yep. So that's 1.5 inches across for each of these, 2 inches down here. And then the bottom ones I made 2 1/4, because usually doors they're not perfectly symmetrical. That bottom panel is a little bit longer, right? So I thought that looked good. Looked nice and balanced the way it should be. So that's what we're going to do. So I went ahead and cut the whole thing, you know, the main, the biggest length. So it's 4 1/4 by 3. So we're going to take our trimmer. We're going to cut this. I'm going to do it this way first. So on the 4 1/4 inch side, I'm going to cut it at 2 1/4. So that's now our top and bottom panels. And then I just cut each one of these in half at 1 1/2. There's our tops. And there is the bottoms. Super, super simple. And now, since you've got your grid paper, you can just line your card front up with some grid lines. We are going to mount these on dimensionals. There they are. So again, I figured just 2 dimensionals per little panel here. Get those all on. So I will have lots more ideas for you in the upcoming weeks that I got over the weekend at our convention, because we had several stamping demonstrations with new product, but sometimes it was new product that, you know, really kind of like, ooh, that's a great idea for that. And sometimes it was just, here's a great idea for working with twine or working with die cuts or whatever it was. So, so I will have more stuff to share with you, which is always my goal, is that you learn something new. So let's take off the backings of one. And what I'm going to do is, I see where this grid line, and I know it's probably going to be hard for you to see. Let me crank you down a little bit again so you can get at least closer. But I've got this lined up. So here's my grid line. Here's another grid line. I'm just going to come in 1 grid line down and 1 grid line in. That'll give me my little 1/4 inch all around. Once you've got one in place, it makes it a lot easier, because I can line up the top and then just go 1 grid line over. So I've got a 1/4 inch between them. And the bottom 2 are even easier. And you don't strive for perfection, by goodness, because perfection does not exist. Even the robots on assembly lines are, I think, allowed some variance. So if they can not even get it perfect, there's no shot for me. But we can get it pretty darn close. So there is my little front door panel, as I call it. So you could totally, if you had like some little brads, you could put a doorknob on, all sorts of little things if you could do. So you can dress this up as much or as little as you want. Now, I also wanted my wreath to be up, kind of away from the door a little bit. So what I did was I turned it over. So I wanted to make sure the dimensionals hit in the 4 panels, so it wouldn't be wonky. It wouldn't be like in one of the valleys. So I just turned it over, and that way that'll give me a good guide to place my dimensionals on. I just kind of hit it in each of those quadrants. Take those backs off. Guy is stubborn. There he goes. And now you can decide, because you can see the wreath has some parts that are sticking out and some parts are thinner than the other. And I think this way I like. I should have done that before I put the dimensionals on, but they're all still fine. Okay, so we've got that. Now we want to put our little berries on. And for this, I like to use my little tweezers. These come in our embossing editions kit. And I love them because they're cross-lock tweezers. So it means they stay closed when you're not squeezing them. You have to squeeze them to open them. So I can put something like that, and I don't have to squeeze it to hold on to that. It just holds onto it for me. So then I can take my liquid glue. You just need a dot. And I'll put one up here. And this is nice for me, at least, because my hands are always full of glue when I use this. Okay, we've got weird stuff coming here. Sorry there for anybody who was live. We had some spam comments coming through. I'm going to take that as a good sign. That means, my videos are popular, right? That's a first for me. Hopefully it'll be a last. But yes, when I'm using the liquid glue on tiny little things like this, I'm always getting adhesive all over my fingers. And then I try to put the things down and they stick to my fingers because they have adhesive on them. So I love these tweezers for that because it keeps my hands adhesive free, and then I can do all my little fiddly bits. Okay, so 2 more tips for you. One, you can notice I have my little flagged end on my greeting. I'm going to show you how to do that with just a pair of paper snips or scissors. Really easy. You're going to take this, you're going to go right up the middle and just make a little snip. And then you'll go from each corner right up to that snip line. And if you just turn it over like this, it's a little easier. And there you go. A perfectly flagged end. All right, as perfect as it's going to be. Because remember, I just said nothing's perfect. All right, I'm going to take my liquid glue again because I've got several different layers here and it really only needs to stick in the middle. So I'm literally just going to put a little bit, oops, there you go, right in the center. We're going to let that overhang so it kind of meets the, it's going to be flush with the white end over there. Okay, now it's time for that all-important fork bow that I just love. Got to thank my friend Jamie for introducing me to the fork bow. Okay, let's grab our fork. Where is my ribbon? There it is. Hey, I haven't lost hardly anything tonight, so that's pretty good. Okay, so when I'm doing my fork bows, I usually just leave the stuff on the spool. But I will say, I wanted to incorporate this gold trim into this bow, and I tried it a couple of different ways, and I was not happy with it the first couple of ways, so we did it again. So what I'm going to do this time, because I think it'll be easier to work with this since I'm working with both at the same time, off the spool. So I'm going to cut about, 12-inch piece of both of these. Careful you don't cut yourself. Get those out of the way. Okay. So now I'm going to do the fork bow, but I'm going to do it with both of these at once. And I seem to be frozen again. There we go. So I've just got both of them in my hands. They're not tied together or anything yet. So we're going to go from the right to the left side, around the back, and we're going to come up over the top of those, okay? And then go through the middle tine underneath. And this gets a little fussy because I'm working with two things. So you just kind of have to maneuver it. But if you're only working with one ribbon or one twine or something, it's a lot easier. Apparently, I needed an extra challenge. So I've got my ribbon through. I'm just going to tuck my little trim through. Okay, so now I've got it coming out this side. I'm actually going to work it so it's a little longer over here so I've got stuff to hold on to. You just put it between your first two fingers, hold onto your fork, and then this one is going to come up and through the middle tine. And you'll flip your fork over and just tie a knot. Nothing fancy, just tie a knot. And then when you slide it off, you have the perfect bow. And so now, because I've used this trim too, I just want to futz with it a little bit because I want to make sure that the gold is going to show with the bow. I should have made sure this was kind of on top when I tied the knot. But you have plenty of time to futz with it because it doesn't come untied if you pull on the ends the way that we do this. I love that about it. So you're assured that your bows are going to stay the same length and everything. And you can just kind of fuss with it as much as you want till you get it how you want it. I think I'm just going to try to twist this guy. See if he'll twist with me. So once again, this is more fussy. Obviously, if you wanted to make it easier, just eliminate the gold trim, or you could tie it separately and then just put it, over it or whatever. So, okay, so there we go. I'm now going to trim the ends of these. Again, I'm going to use my tweezers because I have cut my finger before doing this. So with my tweezers, that'll hold that tight for me. So then I can just trim how I want. Perfect. I'm noticing that I say perfect a lot, so I will work on that. Okay. On this side, boom. Done. We've got a nice little bow that's good size for our wreath. I do love this particular fork, so if you want to have the same size one, it's about 1.5 1.75 inches, about that. That's a good size for card making. So if you're looking for a good fork, that's your fork bow. Okay, so now our mini glue dots. Love these. So just take the back of your bow and you go to this, give it a little twist, and then bammo, it's attached to your ribbon. And then you can just attach that right to your card. Now, the reason I like to use mini glue dots, you could also use our liquid adhesive and just put a dot on your ribbon or on your wreath and then put your ribbon down. And then a friend of mine likes to just put like one of our acrylic blocks on top to weight it down until that dries and holds. I'm not that patient. This is why I use mini glue dots, because they're already dry and they just hold right away. So see, I can like pick that up by the bow and it's not going anywhere. So there is our Christmas card again. And thanks to all of these videos and Friday night stampings that we do, we've got like 50 Christmas cards already done. And we haven't even actually sat down to stamp Christmas cards yet. So that's a win for me, loving it. But I did also promise you some alternatives. Before we get to that, I want to also show you a couple of other things. First of all, I promised you information about the seasonal sale. So it is, as I said, from tomorrow, November 15th through Friday, November 18th. You can click on the link to my shop in the video description to go right there tomorrow and see everything that's on sale. This is select products from our annual catalog. And when I say select, I don't mean a few. I mean really excluding a few. So 20% off on all dies, embossing folders, and non-specialty designer paper. So that's a lot right there. 15% off all stamp sets, excluding host stamp sets, because you do have to put in a qualifying order for those. And 10% off all punches. Dudes, that's a really, really great sale. So we've got gift giving season, we've got creative making season right now. So lots of people are, I know, making their own gifts, making Christmas tags, Christmas wrap, home decor pieces. So this could go a long way to feeding your own stash of stuff to make that. But this is also a great sale for your creative people on your gift list. So get them some great dies or punches or stamp sets, like if you know somebody likes cats or dogs or something, I'm almost 100% positive we have a set like that in the annual catalog. So take a look through. If somebody's got new baby coming or anything, they need baby stamps. We've got everything. We've got something for everyone. So that's coming starting tomorrow, as I said. Also coming tomorrow, we've got another kit that's coming out, and we got to make these at our event on Saturday. So the kit is called Timeless Greetings. What's really cool is it's a little more on the masculine side even. Obviously, any woman would love this as well, but if you've got kind of manly guys on your list and you need to send cards to them, these would totally fit the bill. You get enough to make 4 of each of these cards in the kit, and that will be for sale starting tomorrow. You can always check those out in my shop as well. And then I wanted to show you a little something because we got new catalogs. So this is one of the things that demonstrators, we love to go to events because then we always get the newest catalog that's coming out way early. So these will actually not be good until January 5th. But I am allowed to show you the covers so you can see the pretty, pretty things that are going to be coming your way. So for you elf fans, it's very purpley. And then Celebration is coming back on January 5th as well, January through the end of February. Lots of free things. For those of you that are not familiar with Celebration, it is a chance to really increase your craft stash because for every $50 that you order in Stampin' Products, you get to pick at least one thing out of here free. I can't show you the inside of either of these yet, but I did want to give you a little teaser. Okay, now on to the alternatives I promised you. So first of all, let's bring in our Christmas one back so you can see. And then I've got a nice fall one. And so I've just used, the browns and the golds, a little bit of pumpkin pie up there. I used that other wreath, the stick kind of wreath, a little bit of our linen thread. And then you can see I embossed the panels, quote unquote, of the doors with our painted texture embossing folder, which will be on sale starting tomorrow. So, and then I also have a spring one that I kind of figured was maybe more for Mother's Day, let's say. And this is with our Granny Apple Green. We've got our nice soft So Saffron, and then a polished pink ribbon that I've just popped on the bottom. And then I've used our Stitched Greenery die to actually stitch those nice leaves just with one swoop through the embossing machine or the die cutting machine onto those panels. So there are my 3 different, so completely different kinds, all with one stamp set. I did use a different stamp set for that greeting because I wanted something that wasn't, that was kind of like a Mother's Day thing. So Enjoy Today I thought was nice. But yeah, so I've got some different little doodads on our greetings. So much versatility with this one. All right, let's pop back up here. Hello there. So all this week over on my Facebook page, we will be sharing Christmas cards. So different just like the ones we use today. I'll be sharing lots of different Christmas card ideas. So if you have not started on yours yet, or if you've never made some and maybe just need some ideas on how to get started, I'm happy to help you with that. But we will be sharing all of those over on Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/StamperNan. I'm Stamper Nan pretty much everywhere on the internet. And you can also click the link below in the description. Made it super easy for you. I think that was about all I had for you today. Yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you learned a little something new. And if you did, please share this video with your friends so that they can learn a little something new too. I always like to add new friends to my Stampin' Gaggle. All right, until next Monday, I'm still Nan Gurlitz. Happy stamping.